Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Astrology News Report, an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic Astrology, presented by yours truly, Ron Berger. Today is December 20th, 2015. In this segment, we'll take a look at the week that was, how the planets' positions in the zodiac matched up with the past week's events. Last week was another week of presidential debates for both sides of the interminable race for the White House. Mars is the planet of combat, and therefore argument, and thus the planet of debate. Mars has been in Virgo, the sign of details, analysis, and criticism for the past several weeks. So, we have arguments about the details and plenty of criticism. Meanwhile, Mercury, the planet of discussion, reasons, and explanations, has been in Sagittarius, the sign noted for attachment to its own version of the truth, in other words, self-righteousness. Note, too, that Mars was still opposite Uranus, the planet of rebellion and disruption. So, the energy pattern for creating excitement and controversy was certainly high. First up were the Republicans. Fear and terror stole the Republican debate stage last Tuesday night. In the wake of attacks in Paris and San Bernardino, Americans see terrorism as the top issue facing the U.S. And, if voters were not already scared, watching 13 presidential candidates spar over who is best qualified to defend the nation probably didn't calm your fears. Pretty much all of the Republican candidates were rattling their sabers. Ben Carson said it as well as anyone. "We are at war. That's why I asked Congress, go ahead and declare the war. We need to understand that our nation is in grave danger." Since there are few real policy differences to talk about, all they can do is argue that they are personally tougher and stronger in ways that will somehow prove decisive. Maybe a scarier scowl will defeat ISIS. Mr. Trump, as the front runner, did get targeted by the CNN moderators, as well as Jeb Bush and some of the others. The Donald was his usual bombastic self. How else could he be, with the Mars-Uranus pattern still afflicting his natal Jupiter, planet of beliefs, in his second house of speech? Maybe the most fun came from Trump and Jeb Bush going at each other, which was probably what most people, certainly the moderators, were looking for. Going into the debate with a comfortable lead in the national polls, Mr. Trump, by all accounts, did not lose. The focus on security only helped Trump, who has branded himself as the candidate of xenophobia. And on top of all this, Donald gained a certain sort of endorsement from, wait for it, Russia's President Putin, who on Thursday called him an outstanding and very talented man who wants to move to a deeper relations with Russia. How could we not welcome that? Okay. And on the Democrat side, Mrs. Clinton met Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley in New Hampshire last Saturday for the third Democratic debate. It was the most heated of the meetups so far, with candidates calling each other out by name, and moderators pushing to highlight policy differences between the three Democrats. Mars was still opposite Uranus, with Uranus getting an additional kick from the conjunction of the moon. Mercury was still in Sagittarius. Still, it was all pretty tame compared to the raucous Republican slugfest. There were no clear haymakers, no real gaffes, and as pundits were quick to point out, a good night for everyone is ultimately a win for Hillary Clinton. who remains with a comfortable lead over her opponent. Looking at the astrology, we see that Venus, the planet of appearances, harmony, attractiveness, has been transiting in Libra, Mrs. Clinton's ascendant sign. So this certainly helps her. For Bernie Sanders, the Mars transit in Virgo energized his 10th house of conduct in public, and since it was simultaneously directly opposite his natal moon, he was pretty well lit up. But Mars, as the planet of combat, only made Senator Sanders appear more angry and agitated than Mrs. Clinton, especially as the debate drifted away from Bernie's preferred topic, the economic situation of the middle class. At the end, Hillary seemed certainly pleased with her own performance. Okay, that'll do it for this week's Review of the Week. You can keep up with daily astrological developments and contribute your own thoughts by following me on Twitter @AstroNewsReport.